شهردار جولیانی: وقتی قیام ها در ایران شروع شد، این اعتراضات به من نشان داد که کشور شما آماده یک انقلاب است. شما در آستانه وضعیتی هستید که یک کشور هنگام سرنگونی یک دیکتاتور آنطور به نظر می رسد.
شما چیزی دارید که بسیاری از کشورها وقتی دیکتاتوری را سرنگون کردند هرگز نداشتند و همیشه به سردرگمی و هرج و مرج منجر شد.
شما یک دولت موقت کاملا آماده دارید که می تواند فردا تحت رهبری خانم رجوی زمام امور را به دست گیرد و برای ما چیزی ایجاد کند که در خاورمیانه قویاً در انتظارش هستیم: یک دموکراسی.
آنچه شما در اسارت انجام داده اید بیشتر از بسیاری از کشورها در شرایط عادی است. این به من نشان می دهد که ملت ایران از برجسته ترین ملت ها در تاریخ جهان است.
هیچ کس نمی توانست این جنبش را در تبعید برپا نگه دارد به جز ملتی با این نوع استعداد و نجابت و بزرگی. خانم رجوی یک نمونه از آن است، ولی شما همه بسیار شبیه به او هستید.
I'm very, very moved by watching that. It's like watching a very, very important part of my life. I told Dr. Maria, this is probably the most important thing we do because it involves freedom and liberty for people who have been tortured. You've been tortured. You haven't just been held in captivity. You haven't been held in a situation of lack of rights. But every one of you has lost someone, haven't you? Every one of you has lost a very, very close relative, a very close friend, probably more than one. This is intolerable. I look back on how long, and I've only been involved in it half the time, right, since you've been battling. That's a world that we have to change, not just for Iran, but for everybody, for our children, for my children, grandchildren, yours. Now, this is a battle that is much more important, if it can be more important than just Iran. I believe that if we don't win this battle, our world will become dominated by dictators. It'll be a world dominated by the people who believe in one world, the people who are intent on bringing back some form of dictatorship so they can be empowered over other people. This is much bigger than just Iran, bigger than the United States. It's about the rest of our world and which way it's going to go. And right now is a turning point. You know, in America, we're a democracy, and you don't have to agree with the government. You're allowed to disagree. And I think my positions are well known enough that I'm not really surprising anyone. Now, I've had a lot of frightening moments. September 11, I almost died. I was that close to being crushed in a building. The governor of New York, actually, I was missing for so long. The governor of New York set up a replacement for me because they couldn't find me. By the will of God, the building fell a little bit this way rather than a little bit that way, and I wasn't crushed. I was just trapped. I have no idea why it did that. I did everything I could to guide the city effectively and decently and keep it strong. Every time I see President Trump, he'll talk about Iran. I don't think you know how his 4 years in office educated him. He came in with an instinct that Iran is the key to our problems in the Middle East, if not in the world. And everything he learned thereafter made him stronger and stronger and stronger about it. when you had your protests, all the protests were every city, those protests told me your country is ready for a revolution. You're right on the verge of what a country looks like when they overthrow a dictator. But you know that a country is ready when people stand up with a sign and say, get rid of the Ayatollah. Those people know they're going to be killed, or they could be killed. So can you imagine how strong their desire for freedom is if they're willing to put themselves on a camera with a thing saying, get rid of the Ayatollah, or overthrow the regime? I don't know, you can do that in America, and who knows what happens? Nothing. You do it in Iran and you get killed. Those are people who desperately want to overthrow the government. They're willing to starve so the government starves. And why would you give Iran cash? We don't give Great Britain cash. We don't give France cash. We send them a wire. Who do you give cash to? Drug dealers, organized criminals, and terrorists. That fits. Huh? And it means the person who did it knows they were doing it, which we call consciousness of guilt. And he gave them hundreds of millions in cash, kept them rich. That's back when they were still killing Americans. So money was given to them that they could use to kill my people, not just your people. And they did under Soleimani. We have to fight. This isn't negotiate. Last time we did that, we got Hitler. Until Churchill came along, because Churchill was willing to fight. That's all they understand. That's all they understand. They understand strength, and they understand being hit harder than they can hit you. Terrible mistake that we've made is to let the Iranian proxies attack us 100 times. You have something that a lot of countries never had when they threw over a dictatorship, and it always led to confusion, chaos. Sometimes it had a good result after 3 or 4 years, sometimes terrible. You have a ready, absolutely ready to go government, temporary government under Madam Rajvi that could take over tomorrow and create for us what we have been dying for in the Middle East, a democracy. I mean, we had a whole big, what was it, the Arab Spring, and we had a period of long chaos. You're not going to have that. And that's where we have to, I always thought our job for you, Mrs. Rajvi, was education. You know, getting people to understand what's going on. And with the Ayatollah out of the way, with a regime that could be guided by all of you and your friends and allies, the chance of peace in the Middle East is much better than it's ever been. I cannot tell you, you know this, but it's worth having a witness. I can't tell you how much this woman bled for you while you were in the midst of our trying to get you saved. I don't think she ever slept. She sure would call me as if she never slept. And whenever I would talk to her, I would say, Madam Rajvi, you look a bit down. Well, she said, I'm thinking about Ashraf. That's when the transfers were taking place. And finally, let me say to the people in Iran who can hear this, you're going to do this. You've got the strength, you've got the will. You got to get it done for your children so they don't have to live the life of oppression that you've lived. And do you know what a great country you can create? You get such a head start with this government that's all prepared to go and to usher in a new government. You are an incredibly talented people. You're incredibly well educated. What you've done in captivity is more than most countries do in normal circumstances, which tells me that the Persian people are some of the most remarkable people in the history of this world. We need to learn your history. No one could have created this exile movement than people with this kind of talent and decency. Madame Rajvi is an example of it, but you're all very much like her, enormously impressive people. You will be a great asset to helping us create a free world in which human rights are glorified. And you know, the people who produce it will be the martyrs that we lost, and they'll be glorified too. So God bless you. God bless the great people of Iran. Thank you.